Okay, so we've purchased this gorgeous bungalow here in Darlington on a beautiful estate. This is going to sell really well. We bought this for £130,000, predicted about £35,000 on the refurb. I think we should be pretty tight on that. And then we're looking for about £220,000 done up value. Now, there is comparables that could give us 230, even possibly 240, because this is now being changed as a 2-bed into a 4-bedroom. So because we're adding that extra room compared to other properties in the area, this should sell really well on the market for families, and this is what we want. So if we come into here very quickly, a lot of the other properties here in the area with that value have garages. So we need to have that. If we want that higher end, which a lot of them are, we need to have a garage to kind of at least match what they have to offer. And then obviously we're going to add the extra room or 2 rooms inside, which again will give it that extra sell value. But yeah, we're putting a big garage outside. So if you want to come inside now. So you're going to see lots of cables hanging everywhere because we've had the place rewired. So this is going to be bedroom number 1. Was cupboards and all sorts in here, so we just decided we're going to rip it all out, start fresh, get it all back to basics. We've had the guys go in with a rewire, so they've gone around, they've chased all the wires out, put in the new plugs. We've also had the ceiling support as well. We've had 2x8s stuck in, so we can then convert the loft space, which we'll go into in a second. So this was the living room, so we're now converting this into another bedroom. So this would be the bedroom space here. I'm going to put the radiator here in the corner instead of in the edge. We've obviously got a stairwell that's now feeding up into what will be the 3rd bedroom. There'll be a door at the bottom of the stairs and a door here to the side. Once that's pushed up and fixed in, we'll have enough space. So then you've got a door that opens that out and then into the room. Obviously we're going to block off the fireplace. We decided not to have it here as like a feature. We're just going to literally block it off. Sometimes it's worth keeping, but as a bedroom, we want to try and promote it as an additional bedroom. So we're going to take away that living room feature by blocking that up. Then we're going to shoot up the stairs. Now, these stairs have caused weeks, if not months of delay. You have to have a certain angle and pitch in which you can go from the bottom to the top. You need to have a particular amount of space at the bottom, and they can't be too steep with the typical set of stairs. So we've managed to get around that by speaking to the structural guy and also building control, and they've allowed these sorts of stepping stairs rather than your traditional ones to allow us the right sort of angle to be able to get into the loft. And this really has caused us quite a lot of noise along with some other issues. But I'll give you a quick peek upstairs. What's going on? Okay, so we're up into the floor space, the ceiling space. So we decided to keep things like the feature wall. We think it's going to be quite nice. We are going to board up around the back and the brickwork because that's important for like insulation. But with this here, we're actually going to keep it open and exposed. It's quite nice. Obviously, it needs a bit of cleaning down. We'll probably seal it in as well, but we will keep that. We'll put the radiator there in the middle just to kind of keep that out of the way. It's quite a large space, but usable space is limited. So we're kind of imagining kind of where you are now is where the bed's going to be. Obviously, there's quite a big gap here. This will probably be filled in from this point onwards. So we've still got quite a decent sized space. We need to make sure that there's a 2-meter gap from the stair to the top all the way through. I think it can go down to like 194 or so, I think is the measurement that he told me, but we'll make sure that that is maximize the amount of space because as you can see, it eats into the room. Yeah, we've had 2x8 rafters put in supporting. However, the gentleman, when he'd done it, clearly doesn't know how to use a measuring tape because they're all out of whack. They need to be at least every 600 millimeters to allow plasterboarding to be put in. Some of them are like 600, some of them are like 500, some are like 550, all over the place. Unfortunately, sometimes this happens, you know, you can't always be on site, but now we just have to deal with it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take them back up. We're going to move them into the correct places, and on one side on here, because there's a bigger 4-meter span, we're going to have to put additional supports in, which is what was a bit of a faff on with building control and the structural engineer. There was a bit of to and fro in there, but we've managed to sort it out, and we're going to put some additional beams in. So top tip, when you're ever doing roof rafters, they have to be at least 600 millimeters apart, and that's from the center point of the 2x8. Now, typically what you're going to use is 2x8. It's structurally solid and sound. The only thing is if it passes, I think 3.8, don't quote me, I think it's like 3.8 meters, then you have to then put it every 400 millimeters. Reason being because there's a longer span, you need more structural support because there's going to be more pressure into the middle of the flooring, so that you often require additional rafters in there to give it that, you know, extra support. So that's what we're going to have to do on one side of the room. We won't have to do it here, but as you can see with some of these, they're all over the place. You have it 600 by 600, so when you put your plasterboard in, the edge then falls down in within the middle, and then you've got sides in which you can bang up your screws and screw it into place. So now we're into the bathroom. So we decided to completely rip it out, start fresh. It's the best way to do it in the bathroom. So we've reboarded, we had to re-render on this side of the wall. It's very loose, took it all off, redone it. So now it's at that phase. We've got all the electrics in. We're just going to put the bath in. So the gentleman's coming in to get the bath sorted. Once the bath is in, then we can start tiling. Once we get the tiles up, so the bathroom just completely flying, you know, that's when you can put a shower screen in, that's when you can put the shower in, sink, toilet, everything goes in after. We will be putting some LVT flooring on it. We like the stick down version rather than the click. It gives you a nice solid finish and it just lasts a long time. And also if there's any damages, rather than having to rip up the whole entire floor, you can just rip up one bit by just heating it up with a heat gun, and then you can stick another piece back down. Jobs are good. And okay, so now we are going to be in the fourth room. This is the master room. So we've had one in the entrance, we've had one on this side, and then we've had one in the upstairs, and now hopefully this is going to be our fourth bedroom. These wardrobes came with the property. They were so nice, we decided not to get rid of them. It just seemed like such a waste. It was such a great use of space. They obviously need a bit of tidying up and a bit of cleaning up, but again, this would cost you probably thousands to put this in. So we thought, you know what, we're going to keep this as a feature. There was wardrobes there that we got rid of, but we're just going to create more space in here. But again, nice and easy. We just ripped all the wallpaper off, plug sockets in, as in like rewired, and then yeah, it should be just a plaster and paint. This is a relatively easy room. The only thing that we need to do is with the rafters, they're not quite to specs. Again, this is where we had a bit of toing and froing with the building control and the structural engineer. They need them to be every 400 rather than every 600 because the span is too great. I think it's over 3.8 meters. You then need to have an extra layer for support. So it's the only thing that's kind of held us up, but we have managed to get there in the end. Okay, so yet another feature. So we've had the outside, we've had the garage, we've now got the additional bedroom and the loft space converted. We've now put in an additional room in here. So it was a bit of a dead corner and it wasn't really utilizing much. So I had to really kind of think, how can we add value to this property? So we decided to make a cloakroom. It doesn't really impede on any of your living room space. It wasn't really doing much in this corner. So we figured if we do it as a cloakroom, it would be a nice added feature because there isn't really much storage down here. So as you come in here, you'll have a space for coats, shoes, and then we decided to add an additional bathroom. Now, if you have a property that's then a 2 bath and not just a 1, but a two bathroom, again, it just adds that value. So in here, we've just kept it basic. There's going to be a toilet on this side. So as you walk in, there'll be a toilet, and then we're going to have a sink. It's small. It's nothing crazy, but it does add that value. Now we're coming into the kitchen, and I absolutely love this space. Previous to us, this wasn't us. They put in the skylight. I just think it's a great idea. When you're coming into a kitchen, you want light, you want openness, you want to be able to see the sky, and this is a great way of really opening up a kitchen room and making it feel a little bit more like you're outside but inside. So the kitchen actually was relatively okay. There wasn't really much wrong with it, but we want to try and add something that's different, add a bit of extra value. So we decided to pull it out and start fresh. We're going to put granite worktops in rather than the wood worktops. Again, because this is a flip, this isn't like a BRR. We want something that people come in and think, wow, this is a really nice kitchen. It's the kitchens and bathrooms that really sell a property and space. So we want to utilize that and really accentuate the space. We're going to have the kitchen coming around here. So now where this double cooker was round in the corner. We're now going to put it onto the side next to the main cooking area. We just think this makes a little bit more sense. It's next to the double doors, so if you're kind of cooking, having a party, it's kind of all in one area. This will obviously come round. We'll have the cupboards in here, sink, etc. But instead of having the washing machine in here, that's now in there. We've boarded this up because this was the access point. So we're going to have the cupboards coming probably about to this point here, be a fridge freezer, we've got a socket ready, and then we're going to have a nice island that's just going to sit here in the middle. So I mentioned earlier that this was a flip. Now there's two different styles that dominate the market, and that's BRRR or the flip method. I mean, you do have your buy to lets, but typically it's going to be BRRR and flip because they're going to make you the most amount of money the moment you've kind of completed a deal. So your BRRR, you're going to buy it, you're going to refurbish it, and then you're going to refinance at the back end, and you're going to pull what is going to be most of your money. You're probably looking at leaving in, especially nowadays with materials, at least £15,000 to £20,000 in the deal. So effectively it's only costing you £15,000 to £20,000 on a property, and you pull most of your money back out to recycle and you go again. Obviously you have a mortgage and you have the tenant paying off your mortgage, and then you're having a small profit, and over time you're obviously making money through the inflation of the property. Now with a flip like this one, we're looking for immediate wins. Rather than long-term win, we're looking for a direct win. So as soon as you've refurbished the property, you put it on the market, you get it sold, whatever then the profit is, so this bought 130, 35k on the refurbishment, and 220 predicted on the back end of it, it's going to give this client, I think, £35,000 of profit. Now if it sells for more, because if it is a buyer's market, it could go for 230, it could then go from 35 to 45. But we always go for a good solid number that we know is a comparable in the area. And essentially that's the key, is that you're holding on to your property with BRRR, but you're selling it on a flip. And that also means the standards are going to be different. If you have a tenant renting, it's going to be a slightly lower standard. You're not going to go for stone worktops, you're going to go for wood. You're probably in a clad over tile. And here's a flip, because someone's going to be living in it and they're buying it to call it their own. We're going for the stone, we're going for the full tile, and we're going to make sure that it has those little added extras that really make a difference when someone's looking around the property and thinking, do I want to buy and live in this? Do I want to pay 220, 230 or 240 for this property? What accessories does it have, like going into the loft? This is a great example of why a flip is quite lucrative over a BRRR. And also the numbers are higher because there's a higher purchase. You're typically going to roll into a flip rather than a BRRR because the numbers don't quite work at this end of the scale. It's much better on the cheaper scale for the BRRR. You need to have a big garden. If you're going for a flip, you want something with a sizable garden. BRRR, maybe not so much because it just means more upkeep, but when you've got someone who's actually living here, they love a big garden. Wouldn't you? If you had a property and you had a huge garden like this, maybe if you're not Dr. Green Thumb, but for most of us, it's nice to have the space, plenty of area for the kids to play, plenty of area here to kind of put patio here, put a gazebo. You can really kind of enjoy the outdoors and get a bit of the sun.